to get it, I would highly recommend the city of North Las Vegas, Canyon Springs High School.
Oh,
They
what was that?
to get your COVID shots is
Right.
at the city of North Las Vegas, Canyon Springs High School.
Oh,
They have that down to a science.
really?
Well, it's a big school. It's huge. And to get people in, people who are in a walker, they meet them with wheelchairs and
Wow.
put them in the wheelchair and wheel them down. They've spread it out. My first day, my first shot, I was there I pulled in at 10:30. I left at 11:30. It was an hour. But I have to wait a half an hour after shots because I have allergies.
Oh,
So if you I took the Pfizer, so you have to wait. So a half an hour, I was through everything. I just went for my third shot. I went in and the parking lot was jammed. And my first thought was, oh shit, I'm going to be here forever. I was out in 50 minutes. And that again included half an hour.
wow.
And they give people timers. It's really cute. And you sit on the timer when your time's up, you keep hearing timers going off. And then they give them to people and leave. And some lady's running around with disinfectant. She disinfects the bench there.
Oh,
wow.
okay.
But you know what they told me too? I have a little card that had both appointments on there. They said, carry the card with you at all times in case somebody asks you. Now, I don't know who somebody is that's supposed to ask you that. But so I folded mine up. It's in my wallet, so I can prove it. But they did an excellent job of moving people, really.
That's
So
awesome.
did you go online to schedule that appointment there at the high school?
Yeah, one of my neighbors told me he had gotten his there, and he said, just send an email to City of North Las Vegas, COVID. And I got an email back in less than half an hour. Fine. When do you want to come? They had a list of dates, and you fill that out. They are strictly appointments, and they ask you that. They had the military there this time, and I said to one guy, I bet you never expected doing this when you joined the military. He said, no, I thought I'd be playing with tanks now. I said, well, you'll get to that. He says, yeah, I hope so.
You didn't tell him you were a tank, Sherry? I'm just saying, you're a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
He was too young. Yeah.
All right. So we'll go ahead and get started at 6:02. Plus, we're streaming, so we don't want to give too much people of non-official association business.
Yeah.
So, Madam Chair, if you would call the meeting to order, I'd greatly appreciate it.
Okay, I hereby call this meeting to order.
Perfect. New business is the review of the meeting minutes. Oh, no, I'm sorry, I'm jumping the gun. We're going to talk about what Sherry would like to talk about. So, Sherry, I will let you take this away.
Okay, I come from a different world than most people, the intelligence business. But in it, we were always trying to be prepared for what is going to happen or what might possibly happen. People have talked to me and said, well, we're going to go right back to normal. And everything will be just like it was as soon as this is over. Somebody actually thought it's going to be the end of April. I'm not sure we're going back to normal or what normal is going to be, but I think we should work on being proactive right now, which somehow the U.S. has never learned its lesson to be proactive. We're always reacting. We reacted late to the virus, a day late and a dollar short. And what you do is you brainstorm. You allow your mind to just go to any lengths. Nothing is forbidden. And what you discuss, well, what do you think the water situation is going to be in a couple of years as they keep building houses? Well, we have to, as much as I hate Felicia, close your ears, we may have to say you can only have 4 species of plants instead of 5. You don't know, but it allows yourself to brainstorm. Like the pandemic, one of my brothers said to me, who could have believed this would happen? Well, we've had SARS, Ebola, and the bird flu. Somebody should have thought this could happen and should have been preparing for it. When I was trying to explain this to somebody else, she said, well, you mean you make decisions about everything? No, you don't. You just allow your mind to kind of go wherever it's going to take you. And you never know what you're going to come up with. You may come up with, well, there's no way doing what we're doing now that we could ever change it, so we're stuck with this. Or you can find other, like I said, it's brainstorming, and it allows your mind to just wander about what you think could or could not happen, or this. And nothing is concrete. It's just do it. And you should do something like this every 2 or 3 years and update everything.
Mhm.
So I'd like to give you some examples of what I did, but I can't because I signed an oath. They may find out about it. I wouldn't put it past them. So I can't, that's the best way I could, well, the pandemic, I was thinking about it. If somebody had figured out this could happen again, maybe they would have set up a thing, how you register people, how you order the vaccines, how you ship the vaccine. They could have done this, and they could have come up with any number of ways to do it, but nobody did. So here we are. And that's essentially it. So I don't know if anybody has any questions. I'll see if I can explain it any better. But
So if I can just real quick, so to tie in what Sherry is saying, if you look on the agenda, we're talking about the rules and regulations, the design and review guidelines, and other association documents that really affect how homeowners will live or be in their properties. And so just to try to be proactive in looking at these documents to see if there's anything that needs to be revised, anything that may be needed to be added, simply because times are changing. And especially with people being in quarantine and things of that nature, looking at these documents to see how it can assist them in some ways, how we may need to revise them just because, everybody's situation is differently, or is different, excuse me. So just trying to be proactive in that manner of just thinking about the current conditions and what we are in, how it may affect us a year from now, 5 years from now. We don't know how long this pandemic is choosing to be what it is, and maybe coming up with some recommendations to the board as far as looking at amending some of these documents if need be. I know the design and review committee does look at their guidelines yearly to see if there are changes that need to be made just because of all of the applications that may come through or the requests that are coming through, especially with variances. So I do know just from prior experience that this is something that they do look at on a yearly basis to see how can they better assist the homeowners that reside inside of Providence. So to Sherry's point, I think that was the goal of putting this on the agenda to see if the committee is willing to look at these documents and see if there is any amendments or changes that need to be made.
Okay.
All
What do you
set.
guys think?
Yeah, that sounds logical to me.
Okay, so what I'll do is tomorrow I'll send out the design and review guidelines for you guys to look at, as well as the community standards. Take a look at them, tear them apart, go back to your sub associations, see what's in tandem with the master association, see if your sub association is more restrictive on the matter, because again, sub associations can be more restrictive, not less restrictive. So we just want to make sure that they are speaking the same languages. And if your sub association has something that may benefit the master association, definitely bring that to the table so that we can discuss it during our next meeting. And then in hopeful, if we do have enough recommendations or any recommendations at all, we can provide it to the board during their May's meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and we may do it, and I'm not sure about this because we have to start it, is you may look at Providence, the main HOA in one way and the sub-associations in another way. Or
Right.
you may look at them together. You don't know until, a lot of it you're not going to know till you start working on it and doing it.
Right.
So,
Well, and two, again, just to that point and to kind of bring it full circle with my point, the Master Association may not have a covenant in regards to things that the neighboring sub-associations do, simply because it does not affect us. So,
Right.
for instance, what I will say is, party walls, a wall between two properties. The master association does not have a covenant in regards to that. However, the sub-association may have a covenant in regards to maintenance, in regards to neglect and things of that nature. So you just want to be cognizant of those things while you're looking at them, just to ensure that, again, the sub-association can be more restrictive on a matter, just not less restrictive. And if they do have a covenant that's in place that the master association doesn't have, it's because it does not affect the master association in any capacity. So it's not something that we would be able to add simply because it's not in our CCNRs. So those are things, but definitely still look at the documentation, provide your recommendations, and it would be, to me, a beneficial and fruitful conversation, just so that everybody has a clear understanding as far as what the master association standpoint is, as well as the sub-associations. And maybe that's something that you could even address with your sub-association, that they can possibly amend a rule or regulation, or even add a rule or regulation that may assist with some of the issues that you guys may be seeing.
Okay.
I did talk to Kimberly at Northern Terrace. She had a little trouble. She was the one that said, "You mean we make decisions?" I said, "No." But I did explain it to her, and she said she was going to take it to the Northern Terrace Board to see if they wanted to do that too. It's very, I am trying to sell it, but I'm not. It's very beneficial because it keeps you up with the times and how things can and cannot change. The idea being, if another COVID shows up 2 years from now, we'd be prepared.
And I think
more
too,
prepared than they are.
Yeah, and I think too, as homeowners, I mean, anytime that you see an infraction, at least you can come from an educated standpoint to try to educate your neighbor about what's happening. And sometimes we don't know those things. You know, a lot of times when people move into neighborhoods, they don't know. I mean, I can tell you there's always a situation where people don't know that they have a master and a sub-association. And so they'll get a letter from the sub-association and say, you know, it was the master. And it's like, no, it's your sub-association. Let read the top of the letter. And so, you know, anytime that we can find those moments where we can educate our neighbors, it's going to be a better place for Providence, especially building that sense of community, because it's not coming from a management company. It's coming from their neighbor to educate them. And so that everybody lives in harmony with one another. And sometimes it may be a contentious matter, but at least you all can educate them from that perspective versus it coming from the management company.
Right.
Yeah. And then we could invite people, okay, do you have any ideas on this?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Because what may affect them may not affect you. But again, you're not living with the issue that they may be, you know, dealing with. So yeah, Sherry, absolutely. Awesome. So like I said, I'll definitely send that out to you guys first thing tomorrow morning. So that way we can start that and then we can discuss it during our next meeting in April.
Okay.
If there's no further discussion, I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that.
No, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we've changed some of our verbiage on some things and have added on our design review and whatnot. And we actually had a couple of people bring up on our Facebook of different things that they would like to see. You know, like trailers is one of them. There's no trailers allowed to be parked in front of houses and driveways. And a lot of people during the COVID times were using their trailers. And so they wanted to see if it's a possibility. They kind of had like a little voting thing going on. If they can do such a thing, we can change it. And so, I mean, there's little things like that. I mean, that had to do with COVID, you know, because people were doing their little traveling around in their RVs and whatnot. But we don't really have the room. And a lot of people, it was kind of a split voting decision there.
Yeah. And you'll get that, you know, everybody doesn't think the same, you know, because it doesn't affect them, you know, so people don't think like that. But at the same token, you know, there are always ways to allow variances to assist and allow people to live within the same space. You know, yes, you can have a trailer, but you can only have a trailer here for this amount of time, and it's only here for unloading and loading. It's not there just to sit out front of your house, you know, that kind of thing. And looking at parking enforcement and those things to where it spells that specifically. So I
Yeah.
think, yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Oh,
And
and we currently have that way. That's why they wanted it changed, because you can have it for 24 hours, to bring it in. And if you needed more time, you can go through the board to see if they approve it for whatever reasons. And we've voted it for like somebody having it there for 3 days for necessary reasons for people in the hospital. And it was people that were visiting and they needed a place to park it. So, we've given exceptions on those things.
yeah,
But to have it there parked permanently, it just kind of wouldn't work with our,
with your streets are so narrow.
exactly. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, but keep in mind, this is also down the road, the future too. I mean, who
Yeah.
knows? We could have an earthquake that'll level half, nothing personal, level half of Providence or part of it.
Yeah.
Oh, hey, we have space for trailers.
Yeah.
And it's just, you gotta keep your mind open about anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And no matter how, I can sort of get, one of my jobs was projecting the future on doing certain things. And I said, so why are we doing this? Because this is never going to happen. Well, guess what? About a few years down the road, it happened.
Yeah.
But we had everything in place because we done that. And that's more along, that's, and it'll change too as
Right.
time goes by.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Okay, perfect. Going on to old business, review the minutes from our February 3rd meeting.
It was a short meeting too. I don't remember.
Yes, it was.
Do we have them? Well, since my phone blew up, I don't have them. So whatever it is, I'll fine.
All right, Sherry makes the motion to accept. Can I get a second?
Second.
Thank you, Paul. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All right, on to neighborhood updates. If there are any, please share.
Auburn and Bradford, we, with those, not last time because I wasn't at the meeting, but before I told you we had a vehicle stolen. It was, the vehicle was used for a robbery. So we've had detectives working with a lot of our homeowners, getting recordings of people's Ring doorbells. And they actually had the same group of guys in a Summerlin area. So they actually have caught them, but now they're coming back and getting a lot of the footage, which is good. So we're kind of working together with everybody to get this ring off the streets. So that was great. We're getting a new pedestrian gate on the southeast end of Mentasana and Grand Concourse, which is going off into Schaumburg. We had a few homeowners that were requesting that to come into play. So we went ahead and approved it, and that should be done March 8th.
Awesome.
Yeah. And the second phase of our behind the gates change in the dripper system and new lighting and some fresh trees and whatnot, that got all completed. And we rolled out our Going Green program to all the neighbors. It's a slow process, but we're trying to get everybody like the master plan to where we can text and email versus sending out all the papers. There's a lot of postage and nobody really reads. So that started going out. So that was a good thing. So we're just trying to get more people put into that Going Green.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that's what we got going.
All right, who's next? Anybody, somebody, anybody?
I'll go.
All right.
So right now we're replacing our irrigation and some of our plantings out front. So that's kind of minor, but it's ongoing, and we're actually we just started asking for volunteers to form a subcommittee to review our rules and regulations of Kensington. Just
Wow.
and refresh
That's a
them.
good
So,
idea.
Awesome.
Did you have a lot of people sign up for that?
No.
No? That's the
He's like the board, that's
Yeah,
it.
pretty much. I mean, I'm a new board member only because nobody else ran.
Oh,
Oh,
congratulations.
Yeah, thanks.
yeah.
Wow. Anybody else? Thanks, Paul.
Well, Northern,
Oh,
Uh,
go ahead.
no,
No,
go
go
ahead.
ahead. You're driving, so go ahead. You go.
Okay, I
Well,
just
I was gonna say, everything is bored at Northern Terrace, so.
Go ahead, Ray Shan.
okay, I just stopped to drop off one kid at soccer. So he's locked in the car. So Saratoga, we don't have much going on. Hoping for anything to come up. just positive hopes though. So
That's nowadays, let me just tell you, that's a hope. So
yeah. So
Yeah, I
anything
went by-
positive, we're bringing it to us.
I went by and saw your sign. It looks nice.
Oh, thank you.
with the new
with
light.
the light?
Yeah,
Okay, thank you. I'm glad you liked it.
yeah.
what's going on in Highgate, Jeanette?
Well, last month I told you about some of it was like pieces of bread and they were afraid it was poisoned.
Mhm.
Well, it did stop. So,
Good.
so the sign they put up there, they stopped it. So I don't know if it was poisoned or anything, but at least it stopped. So that was, that was good to know. The only
Good.
is that they're going to resurface the streets, that's
Okay.
about,
Awesome.
Jeanette, oh, I'm sorry. Jeanette, your pieces of bread, was that in an area where there are pigeons?
it was actually on like there's a sidewalk and there's bushes and then where the mail is.
Uh-huh.
So they were throwing it in the bushes. So it wasn't like, it was just like and then there's a wall behind it. So it's right where the dogs always walk. Because in Highgate, you have a sidewalk on one side of the street, but not the other side. So if you want to walk on a sidewalk, then, but people were walking their dogs and the dogs wanted to eat it. So yeah, they
Because-
weren't happy about it. So
Yeah, the reason I asked is we have one of our common areas, somebody kept throwing food out for the pigeons and bringing the pigeons in. And she would, it was a woman, I saw her one day, she would throw out bread, anything, which one didn't look good, two was unsanitary. So, and then all of a sudden it stopped. So I was just wondering if maybe it was the same person moving on somewhere else.
well, I wouldn't call it common ground. You know what I mean? Like, it's just a sidewalk in the bushes. It's not like a park or anything. So,
It's still sometimes considered common area, especially if they don't have like an easement with that homeowner to have that area there.
Yeah.
So it's still considered
Yeah.
common area because there's landscaping typically there that the association would take care of. So,
I was picturing it like more space.
right, right. Yeah. They're typically small little areas too, little plats of land where the mailboxes are typically are. So yeah.
It stopped. So that's all that matters. So
That's awesome. Because I do worry about, especially people that have pets, you just want to take your pet out for a nice walk and then somebody's there trying to poison your dog or something like that. So it sucks, but I'm glad that it stopped. I did reach out to Jessica and just let her know of what was happening. So hopefully, I don't know if she put something in a newsletter or something like that got people's attention, but I'm glad that it definitely stopped for you guys. That's awesome.
yeah, so that's all.
Okay.
I did see a post on Facebook about somebody was talking about the sprinklers at the park. They said Thursday night, and basically they made it sound like it was almost flooded. You know what I mean? Like really saturated.
So we
is-
did get a notification in regards to it today, not necessarily so much that the area was saturated, just about the time that they were running. And I believe it was like at 9:50. So I do know that Jody did reach out to Brightview in regards to it. There is not anything specifically that says that you can't water at night. They gave specific dates for the watering schedule, which we are on target for the watering schedule. But the person that did notify us in regards to it, Jody is working on a response. We're just trying to gather all the information on all the meters when they're scheduled to turn on, so that if
Right.
that person wants to disseminate that information, they can. But we strongly encourage for homeowners, we obviously can't stop people from, communicating via Facebook, because sometimes that's the way that they get their information, but sometimes the information is not what the real information is. So, I would encourage you guys as committee members, anytime that you see that, definitely, tell them, reach out to the management company, because we do want to provide consistent information. And it's always the game of telephone. If I tell you something, you're going to remember it the way that you remember it, and then you're going to try to reiterate what we said based off of what you remember. So, it's highly encouraged for people to reach out to management so that we can give the same consistent and right information versus hearing it from their neighbors. But we're all over it, Jeanette. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
I definitely agree with you. I mean, I didn't say everything that was on there,
Yeah.
I mean, I was like, okay, maybe there's a problem. That's all. So.
And sometimes there are, sometimes they're valid issues. Sometimes valves get stuck in the open position, and it has happened, especially last year. We had valves at Huckleberry that would get stuck in the field, and then the field would be saturated for 3 or 4 days to where people couldn't use it. But we always, like I said, it's strongly encouraged just for people to contact us, let us know what's going on so that we can get our experts out there to take care of it and provide them with the most up-to-date information, because again, those vendors are communicating with us. They're not communicating with the homeowner. So we can provide up-to-date information as it comes to us. And again, so that it is consistent. So if you see anything, just tell them, reach out to management, and we'll be more than happy to help them.
Well,
Just saying.
Yeah, sir.
you're preaching to
Absolutely.
the choir.
Can't stop people from doing what they do.
Yeah.
We'll help them all. It doesn't matter.
I rarely see it anymore. My husband usually tells me.
Well,
on-
I'm just saying, if you do
Someone
see
to pay
anything,
my husband. It's like-
if you do see anything, I'm just saying, just now, in the future, whatever, just let them know, contact management. They'll be more than happy to provide you an update, or even just reporting it, letting us know of the issue, because sometimes we may not know. So, just to keep us in the loop and to keep them in the loop with up-to-date information, it's just greatly appreciated.
It would work a lot better that way.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely. Awesome. Well, I know Rayshan's driving her kids around being the hero mom that she is, and you guys probably want to get back to your fur babies and your husbands and your wives and all of that jazz. So I will be sending you guys an email in the morning with the documentation. And if there's nothing further, for the better of the order of the committee or the association, I just need a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn.
I
Thank
second.
you, Deirdre. Awesome. 6:27. You guys be safe. It was so good to see you all.
Good seeing
And I'll be in
everybody.
contact soon.
Okay.
All right,
will
everybody.
do.
Bye, guys.
All right,
Bye.
bye. Bye,
Bye.
everybody.
And thanks, Felicia, for the.
You're welcome.
Yes.
I got you, girl. Don't you worry.
Okay. Uh,